So Cornel West has officially resigned from Harvard, and, the breakup has been a little bit ugly. They treated him very unfairly and unkind. He was on Crystal Kyle and Friends a while ago, and he's such a lovely guy. He's a beautiful person. Off air, he's just as amazing as he is on air, and he was so, thankful at the fact that we had like a real substantive conversation with him. Just an amazing person. Just kindest soul you can imagine. So I want to read you his resignation letter here, and then we'll talk about it. So he released this publicly, June 30th, 2021. I hope and pray, he just released this the other day, but it was sent to Harvard on June 30th, 2021. I hope and pray you and your family are well. This summer is a scorcher. Here's my brief and candid letter of resignation. How sad is it to see our beloved Harvard Divinity School in such decline and decay? The disarray of a scattered curriculum, the disenchantment of talented yet deferential faculty, and the disorientation of precious students loom large. When I arrived 4 years ago with a salary less than what I received 15 years earlier, and with no tenure status after being a university professor at Harvard and Princeton, I hoped and prayed I could still end my career with some semblance of intellectual intensity and personal respect. How wrong I was! With a few glorious and glaring exceptions, the shadow of Jim Crow was cast in its new glittering form expressed in the language of superficial diversity. All my courses were subsumed under Afro-American religious studies, including those on existentialism, American democracy, and the conduct of life. No possible summer salary alongside the lowest increase possible every year. Yet I delivered 2 convocation addresses and 1 commencement speech in 4 years. I was promised a year sabbatical, but could only take 1 semester in practice, and to witness a faculty enthusiastically support a candidate for tenure, then timidly defer to a rejection based on the Harvard administration's hostility to the Palestinian cause was disgusting. We all knew the mendacious reasons given had nothing to do with academic standards. When my committee recommended a tenure review, also rejected by the Harvard administration, I knew my academic achievements in student teaching meant far less than their political prejudices. Even my good friends in the Afro-American and African Studies department were paralyzed, given their close relationship to the administration. And after teaching extra courses, including 5 courses in 1 year, this silence continued. When the announcement of the death of my beloved mother appeared in the regular newsletter, I received 2 public replies, just as that of my colleague, Dr. Jacqueline Olga Cook-Rivers, who received none when her beloved mother died. Any ordinary announcement about a lecture, award, or professional advancement receives about 20 replies. The kind of narcissistic academic professionalism, cowardly deference to the anti-Palestinian prejudices of the Harvard administration, and indifference to my mother's death constitute an intellectual and spiritual bankruptcy of deep depths. In my case, a serious commitment to veritas requires resignation. With precious memories but absolutely no regrets, Cornel West. Wow. So let me highlight the key portions for you and sum it up. He wasn't given tenure, even though he should have been given tenure. He was paid worse than he was 15 years ago. All of his courses were under Afro-American religious studies, even though a lot of those courses had nothing to do with Afro-American religious studies. So existentialism he taught about, American democracy, the conduct of life, all of that somehow was under Afro-American studies. It's almost like they typecast him and just put him in that position. Even despite being mistreated, he did 3 big speeches, which is, he's also doing a little bit of a favor for the institution, even though the institution's stabbing him in the back. He was denied a full sabbatical, even though he was promised one. He still went on to teach extra courses, thinking, hey, maybe this'll get me my tenure or more my full sabbatical or whatever. It didn't. And he was, for all that he did for Harvard, he was rewarded with virtual silence when his mother died. And he viewed that as basically the last straw. And so he left. And listen, he says the main thing he feels that took us down this path was that he was a staunch advocate for Palestinian rights. Staunch advocate for it. And he was institutionally crushed as a result of it. We've talked about it before, but one of the key issues on the forefront of the free speech fight It's Palestinian rights and Palestinian justice. We have states all across this country that have tried to crack down on BDS, boycotts, divestment, and sanctions, even to the point where in Texas, in order for you to receive relief money from a hurricane, you needed to say, I'll never sign on to boycott, divestment, and sanctions of Israel. So we have speech restricting the criticism of Israel in this country. You're allowed to criticize the United States of America, but in many instances, you're not allowed to criticize Israel. An insane crackdown on freedom of speech. Insane crackdown. And those anti-BDS laws have popped up all across the country. You know, there's been, when you talk about academic freedom, there's been a number of professors who have, you know, had retribution taken against them because they speak out for Palestinian rights. So this is a very high-profile example of that, and it's unacceptable. As I said, from a personal perspective, he's one of the most lovely people I've ever dealt with in my life. He's full of love and acceptance and joy, and he loves life. And to have this, one of the top living intellectuals of our time, be disrespected and besmirched like this is unacceptable. It's totally unacceptable. And this should help people understand and realize. When we talk about free speech, it's always going to be the left that's on the chopping block. Because a true commitment to left values is a true commitment to anti-establishment politics. And if you're questioning the establishment, if you're questioning the powers that be and the status quo, they don't take kindly to that. And they definitionally have the power. And so they'll come after you. So everybody be careful what you wish for if you cheer on censorship and deplatforming, because any crackdown on free speech or academic freedom or free expression does not end well. And this is a great example of it right here. I feel really bad for Cornel West. I'm sure some other university will pick him up, and they'll definitely be lucky to have him, but this does not speak well of Harvard. Not at all.